I did some investigation into the derivation of the American public education system and found out that it was based on the Prussian model. And the Prussians produced a universal education system in the late 1800s because they were afraid they were losing military superiority, and they wanted to produce a cadre of mindless, obedient soldiers. That was expressly the purpose. Corporate types mostly, who wanted to produce cadres of obedient workers. And that's why the desks are in rows, and that's why there's factory bells, and that's why it's top-down leadership. What was really stunning about that wasn't only that that was the model, but it's worse than that, because the people who built the schools were consciously aiming at eradicating the will of the students who were part of the system because they wanted them to be obedient.
Back in the 1600s, most kids didn't receive a formal education. The thing was, almost all your learning came from the home, where you learned how to tend to the family farm. And sure, there were skilled laborers, but there were very few scholars, save for those who were born to nobility and actually had access to higher education. Simply being able to read anything outside of the Bible was being well above average. The American education was essentially a crash course in survival. So ensure that the crops don't die and your livestock don't escape. Otherwise, this coming winter will probably be your last winter. Early schools weren't about algebra or Shakespeare. They were about teaching kids how to read the Bible and, not to anger God. Fast forward to the 19th century, and we meet Horace Mann, the father of American education. He envisioned a system where every child could get a free education, regardless of class. And at the time, this was revolutionary. Sounds great, right? Well, the fine print was that Mann's system was also about molding kids into well-behaved citizens who could contribute to the booming industrial economy. The idea was, take these kids from mom and dad's farm and ensure they were skilled enough to work in an asbestos-filled workshop. This is the American way. The idea wasn't to spark creativity or to raise free thinkers. It was to train the next generation of workers to be punctual, disciplined, and obedient. So yeah, school was kind of a training ground for factory life. Public schools were supposed to be the great equalizer, leveling the playing field for every child. But surprise, surprise, it didn't quite work out that way. As public schools spread, so did private schools. These weren't just alternatives. They were a way for the wealthy to keep their kids away from those filthy plebs. While public schools were busy teaching kids how to follow rules and clock in on time, private schools were shaping the future CEOs, politicians, and leaders of early America. Think of it like this. Public school was the dollar menu, and private school was the five-star restaurant where the chef prepares a custom meal. At this time, it was clear from the start that there were two parallel tracks, one for the elite and one for everyone else. Mann's vision of universal education might have sounded like a good idea at the time, but it came with some serious strings attached. His model focused on standardization, everyone learning the same thing, the same way. And why? Because the goal wasn't to nurture creativity, it was to produce a workforce that could follow instructions. And the result? Classrooms that looked more like factories than places for intellectual exploration. The bell rings, you move to the next class. Sit quietly, follow the rules, memorize the material. That's not really an education, that's boot camp for the corporate world. And sure, they taught you how to read and write, but they also trained them to fit into a system that wasn't really designed to make them think too much for themselves. My name's Mark, and welcome to my channel. I make deep dives into the dark world of money, power, and business, empowering you, my cherished viewer, with all the tools you need to take control of your future. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon as to not miss out on my weekly uploads. These videos take quite a while to make, so your support is greatly appreciated. We are dangerously close to 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe. Now tap in, and I'll explain. Public school. The place where most of us spend our days trying to survive cafeteria food, dodge dodgeballs, and basically not get expelled. These schools were designed to serve everyone. They're often underfunded and overcrowded. Teachers are juggling 30+ kids in one classroom. Textbooks that are older than some of the students, and school supplies? Good luck. The real MVPs here are the teachers, doing their best in a system that's set up to fail. Public schools are like trying to learn how to swim in a kiddie pool. And sure, you're learning something, but you're not really going far. On the other hand, private schools are handing out a luxury cruise, shiny facilities, smaller class sizes, and personalized learning. It's a different world entirely. Of course, if you can afford the $20K yearly tuition. Now, the gap between public and private schools isn't just about money, though that's a huge part of it. They're about opportunity. Public schools focus on the basics, trying to get students through standardized tests, and if they're lucky, into college. Meanwhile, private schools offer specialized programs, advanced placement courses, and extracurriculars that prepare students for life beyond the classroom. Now, this is not an indictment of public schools, because you're looking at someone who went to only public schools and now holds 2 degrees, including an MBA in finance. However, the truth is, when it comes to private schools, they have the resources to push these kids toward leadership roles, entrepreneurial ventures, and as well, creative pursuits. And don't forget about the networking opportunities. Private schools aren't just educating the elite, they're connecting them. It's like getting a fast pass to the front of the line in life, while public school kids are stuck waiting, hoping that they'll make it through the gate. But here's the thing, while private schools offer all the bells and whistles, public school students have to get creative. Being underfunded teaches resilience. When your art class gets cut, you find a new way to express yourself outside of school. When your sports team can't afford uniforms, you hustle harder as a unit. Public school kids learn how to adapt and think on their feet because they really don't have a choice. It's not that private school kids can't succeed, it's that public school kids often succeed in spite of what they're given. They're like the underdogs in a rigged game, and sometimes those underdogs can end up changing the world. Now, if you think the US education system is designed to help kids figure out who they are, then think again. From the moment you step into kindergarten, the system is designed to mold you into a productive member of society. And what does that even mean? Well, that means that you follow the rules, you sit still, and you memorize just enough information to pass your test. Individuality, creativity, those are nice buzzwords for college brochures, but they're not what the system is built for. It's built for conformity. Just think about it. The entire school day is regimented, timed, and structured to keep you on a tight schedule. Does that sound familiar? That's because it's the same structure that you'll find in corporate America. The classroom to corporate pipeline is very real, and it starts way earlier than you think. Schools don't reward curiosity or risk-taking, they reward compliance. If you're good at following instructions and regurgitating information, then congrats, you'll do just fine in the corporate world, where these same skills are highly valued. But if you think outside the box, question authority, or dare to be different, the system does not know what to do with you. From kindergarten to graduation, the system nudges you into predetermined roles: worker, manager, or if you're lucky, the rare creative who's allowed to push a few boundaries, as long as it's profitable. The education system wasn't just designed by educators. It was influenced by industrialists who needed a steady supply of workers. That's why the school day is divided into periods, why there are bells signaling when to move, and why standardized testing is such a big deal. Schools are like mini factories, prepping students for a life of punching in, following orders, and clocking out. The irony is that in a world where innovation is king, the system we rely on to prepare the next generation is stuck in an outdated industrial age model. We're training kids for a world that frankly no longer exists, then wondering why they aren't prepared for real-world challenges that they face, or why they just really want to be content creators. Here's the thing that no one will tell you about the US education system. It's not really about education. Sir, you learn how to read, write, and do basic math, but the real purpose of the system is to prepare you for your role in society. And by your role, I mean your place in the economic machine. Horace Mann wanted schools to create informed citizens. But somewhere along the line, the vision got hijacked. Industrialists needed workers, and schools became the training grounds for those workers. The goal wasn't to prepare minds or spark creativity. It's to ensure that kids grew into adults who would follow the rules and keep the economy running smoothly. So what happens if you don't fit into that mold? You get labeled a troublemaker or a failure. Kids who don't conform to the system are often seen as problematic, not because they lack intelligence, but because they simply don't fit into the neat little boxes the system wants to put them in. The education system isn't simply built to celebrate individuality, it's built to suppress it. If you color outside the lines, you're doing it wrong. And that's the tragedy. So many kids with incredible potential are being stifled by a system that values obedience over originality. It's not about helping you find your voice. It's about making sure that you don't speak out of turn. In the end, the US education system is doing exactly what it's designed to. It's just that it was designed to do what most of us think it was. It perpetuates inequality by maintaining the divide between public and private education. It funnels kids into predetermined roles in society and discourages creativity in favor of conformity. The system isn't broken. It's functioning perfectly according to design. The problem is that design is outdated and does not serve the needs of today's students. If you want to thrive in this system, you must learn how to play by its rules, and then figure out how to bend or break them when it no longer serves you. The truth is, Education should be about finding your own path, not just walking the one that was laid out for you. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history of the U.S. education system, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon as to not miss out on my weekly uploads. These videos take quite a while to write, produce, and edit, so your support is greatly appreciated. And as always, my name's Mark. You've been great. Stay dangerous, and I'll see you in the next one.